Hello, and welcome to Great Things Tampa Bay, the podcast about great eats, great places, and great people in the greater Tampa Bay area. I'm your host, Kyle Sasser, a Tampa Bay native and licensed realtor. This is episode 5. We're calling it Old School Cool. We're covering a great restaurant over in Clearwater, one of my wife's favorite. She basically sold this place to me to high heaven beforehand, and we went, and it completely lived up to the hype, so I would like to share it with you. We also continue on with our interview with Andy and wrap that up, and he's got a few great things left to say to you, so we're going to share that with you. And then to leave off, we got a sobering thought. So it isn't quite depressing, but just kind of an interesting thought about the universe. So please stay tuned. Thank you for inviting me along on your commute to work. Always appreciated. I know that there's plenty of other podcasts, and you have decided to listen to me. So I just want to express my thank you to you. We love getting your feedback. It always makes my day to have somebody tell us that they love the show. I can't say it makes my day when they tell me that they don't like it, but I do like getting positive feedback. So if you have something that you believe could improve the show, please let me know. And you can do so by going to our website, which is greatthingstb.com. That's greatthings.com. From there was the Get Social link at the top, so just click on that. That will take you to all of our social profiles, and you can throw me a message there. And we'd love to hear about your favorite spots, so please leave me a message with what restaurants you currently love. Maybe a great sushi place, or I don't know, maybe what's the best boat ramp you've ever been to. Tell me something crazy that I wouldn't think about normally. So without further ado, let's get started. Segment 1, Old School Cool. This segment is all about old school cool, and I don't know if you're anything like me, but you kind of have this vision of what like a nice restaurant is, and typically it's something that you saw in a movie maybe from like some period piece set in the 40s or the 50s or something like that. I'm happy to tell you that there is actually a place here in Tampa Bay that fits that bill. And the name of it is Bob Heilman's Beachcombers. And I hope I got that last name right. Names are always tough. So we'll say Bob Heilman's Beachcomber restaurant. It's located in Clearwater Beach. It's right on the main drag there. Whenever you come over the bridge, you take a right, boom, and it's just a couple blocks there. You can find it at heilmansbeachcomber.com, HeilmansBeachcomber.com. And this place absolutely fits the bill for an old school cool restaurant. My wife and I, we like to go there. Well, she goes there by herself sometimes without me. But we like to go on New Year's Eve. It's always a classy dining experience. You kind of want to dress up a little bit. I mean, you can eat there in a polo. A jacket's not required. New Year's, I usually wear one just, because we try to be fancy. So we like putting on airs. Yeah, so Bob Heilman's had a little chain of restaurants there. They started off in Lorain, Ohio, and had one in Fort Lauderdale. They also opened the one here in Clearwater. They all kind of had the Beachcomber dude as a mascot. And he's kind of this old, almost like hobo looking, but, he looks like he's from money. Like he looks like he's a hobo going to a yacht, if that makes any sense. So you'll see him on the website and, some of the items around the dining room. Makes it interesting. Restaurant opened in 1948. It's an old school dining experience. They have multiple rooms. They have a piano smack dab in the middle, kind of abutted up to the bar. Bar is pretty substantial. People mill there, gather around. There's a bunch of people in there eating. And then they have, other additional dining rooms off left and right. It's amazing. You sit down. They bring out a relish tray with crackers. And I don't know about you, but when I think classy restaurants, I think Captain's Wafers. That might just be a holdover from when I was a kid. Like a restaurant was on another level when they brought out the Captain's Wafers. So my wife, she absolutely loves this time. The relishes are delicious, and they usually bring out a selection of 4 of them. And tasty stuff. Then for the food, they have, the old school entrees. Think like chicken livers, which is my wife's favorite. She actually will go with her mother for lunch and specifically just get chicken livers, sauteed chicken livers. Sorry, let me clarify that. And then I usually go for the steaks. I mean, they're not a steakhouse per se. They also do seafood really, really well. But the steaks are absolutely delicious. It's just an old school place. You kind of go there and, like, it's not kitschy, jokey. Like, it's serious. And it's been maintained since 1948, which is, it's pretty awesome to me. The staff there is great. They're always really knowledgeable about all the food they have. They're more than happy to help you out with selections for wine and all that. The ambiance is absolutely amazing. If you want like kind of a lively atmosphere, you can eat out in the main dining room. We like being kind of tucked around the corner from the main entrance there. It's just a little quiet and a little bit more romantic for us. So they have both sides, the romantic side and the lively out there in the watching the lady play the piano. So the place is awesome. And if you've been wondering where that kind of experience is, I mean, in Tampa, there's Burns, of course. Everybody knows about that place. Beachcomber is, I would say their steak game is not quite up to Burns, which makes sense because, that's kind of Burns' staple. That's what they're known for. But, I'd put it a notch below that. It's still a great experience. It's it can be relatively casual. I'd go with like a polo or something like that. It's a great, nice dining experience that kind of transports you back to, I don't know, like, maybe the Rat Pack's going to be showing up there. And if you ask around, they will tell you some of the famous patrons that have eaten there over the years. But, I don't really want to divulge too much on the podcast here. So go to Bob Heilman's Beachcomber up in Clearwater Beach. It's amazing and delicious and definitely worth the trip. If you're going on New Year's, I would recommend that you do book a reservation. And honestly, out of courtesy, I would book a reservation anytime. It's just kind of a nice thing to do. Makes you feel kind of special when you go and you're like, I have a table. So that's Bob Heilman's Beachcomber up in Clearwater, Florida. That definitely is a great thing in Tampa Bay. Segment 2, Urban Interview. So I'd like to wrap up this interview with Andy, owner of the Urban Comfort Group. And again, I'd like to thank Andy for taking the time to sit down with me and conversate. So anyway, without further ado, here we go. Where do you see St. Pete going, I don't know, let's say 2 years and 10 years?
I'm bullish on it. I don't think this is a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about the housing costs and rent.
Housing prices have increased 9.2% in the last 12 months.
It is crazy. It's not very sustainable. We have unique challenges in that we are waterlocked on 3 sides. Mm-hmm. And I think some folks that come into town in the service industry with bigger venues that require a ton of customers don't fully get that.
Yeah.
And so there's businesses in town right now that are failing. Maybe people may not know they're failing, but they're bleeding money. Mm-hmm. It's because they come from areas where you have 5 million people, mm-hmm. and so that traffic comes. You know?
I will say one of my concerns whenever Edge was being developed, mm-hmm. and I mean it still is, but just the sheer number of restaurants that have gone in the last 2 years. And I mean it's already a tough business when everything's relatively stable.
Oh yeah, there's a huge influx. It's still not so like shoot. What is that one called?
Saturated?
The Galley just opened, and so it's like, man, a new restaurant, the Galley. Well, that really replaced something else. Mm-hmm. You know, so there's still turnover in that sense.
Yeah.
I don't think you see as many places that aren't restaurants being built into restaurants.
Okay.
I think that bubble's actually already passed. So when like we built Comfort is because there was not a restaurant space available. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing now is more restaurants that just haven't made it and then they're being turned over.
Yeah.
But there still is a lot out there. Mm-hmm. And my concern for folks that are downtown or in the Edge District is people's leases are starting to come up, mm-hmm. and they're going to see a big spike in rent. And that's not just for restaurants, that's for all businesses down there.
And redevelopment. There's a lot of pressure down there on redevelopment downtown. Mm-hmm. So how many condos are they building down there right now?
Yeah, but I mean that's what you need to support all this business growth.
Yeah.
I'm not totally insulated from that here in the district, mm-hmm. but I feel safer than being down there.
Yeah, it's good. Like I have my real estate license, so I'm like
right.
But still, like I'm cautious. I'm like
what's
maybe.
going to make or break. So if people in St. Pete really want to be the next Portland, Oregon, what's going to make that happen is closing the gap and the disparity between a house 5 blocks south of here and 5 blocks north.
Yeah.
Because you can go down there and probably get a house for $50,000.
Yeah.
And 5 blocks north, you're going to pay $500,000, $400,000.
That's true. Personally, I believe that is going to be the next redevelopment sector. I mean, just the houses.
But if that takes as long as Kenwood has taken, now we're talking 20 years.
Yeah. It's it's tough, but just like you said, the simple fact is we have water on 3 sides. The coastlines are pretty developed, and so everything's basically going to push up 19. I think personally from the south, like the houses down there are amazing. I love the houses down there, and I really think that's where the next push is going to come. Is through there. How long it's going to take? Who knows?
That's and in any business where you're having to sign a lease. That's the problem.
Yeah. How to project that?
Yeah, because great, it's gonna be here in 10 years, but can I survive the next 10 years?
Yeah.
We've had more and more restaurants come in here as well, and more bars, and I think they're servicing a need. And so what we're seeing is the neighborhoods make up a less percentage of our clientele because the neighborhood's one of the best in the city in terms of supporting their small independent businesses, but they only have so much time and money to give.
Yeah.
And so they're spreading those dollars as equitably as they can. And so we're seeing more people from outside the neighborhood come to make up for that.
Yeah. And I'm Shore Acres, and I have no problem driving down here.
But I think you're one of the few. I think most people that live east of 4th don't eat west of 6th.
Yeah. Like you said, like a lot of people don't. They're kind of blind to anything outside of their little bunny trail, So.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, just to kind of give. Like I've lived here for 36 years, so I know little spots and places all over the place. So how do you feel about Food Now, Uber Eats, and similar services? And how do you feel that they impact the dining experience?
I'm not a fan, and that's nothing against the folks that work for those entities, but what they've done a good job of doing is masking the costs. So when people order Uber Eats, they don't realize that Uber takes 30 cents on the dollar from the restaurant and then charges the customer another 5.
Okay.
And so when the customer's not happy with the quantity or the quality, the restaurant pays for it and gets all the blame, where the restaurant's losing money to do that. You can try to circumvent that by changing the plate options, but we don't leave a whole lot of money on the table here. When we charge you a price for a meal, we're doing it because it's a fair price.
Yeah.
So for us to cut 30% out, that's way more than our profit margin.
Yeah.
So for us to do that and be financially viable, we have to make up plates with smaller quantities where we're getting closer to breaking even. The other thing with Uber Eats and those other services is how often do those customers really come to the restaurant and eat? So that's the school of thought. Well, you get on there, so you're getting brand exposure, people see your brand, and then eventually come back.
Yeah.
And we did it initially with a company here in town, and we did not see people coming back at all. So we ended it. When Uber came on the scene, I was like, well, they have a much larger platform. Let's see how this does. And we've gotten some pretty good traction in some of our locations, but I don't like the customer doesn't realize where their money's going.
Yeah. Because honestly, I always thought. Okay, so full disclosure, sorry.
Yeah.
So one of the Food Now guys, he's on my soccer team. I had mentioned to him that and if you don't want me to play this, just let me know. But I actually asked him, and he said, I was like, hey, I'm interviewing Andy. Because I was always like, man, you don't have Uber, or you don't have Urban. And he's like, yeah, we used to, and he said that said that you didn't like the fact that they were taking 30%. And I was like, I can't really blame them on that one.
It's a crazy model.
Yeah.
That what they're wagering on is that people will try your food and they come in the restaurant. And in the beginning, we still try to do a good job of it. But in the beginning, we were very good about if you came in the door and we didn't recognize you, ask you, how do you find out about us?
Yeah.
And never did someone come in and say, oh, I ordered Food Now from you guys.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the two things is, so I did not know they took 30%. I just thought it was the delivery fee. And I never ordered from here because they were never on there.
Yeah.
But, I would order it as comfort food when I didn't want to get out of my sweatpants.
Yeah. And so I think there are people out there that...
But that's a hard metric to track, though.
Takeout food on the whole in the country is going up, and so they are servicing that need, but they're taking too big of a chunk. They need to lower that percentage. Yeah. But right now, I think restaurants feel pressure. Like, you're missing out if you're not doing it.
Yeah. And it is relatively new, like 3, 4, 5 years, probably 5 years at this point, I think. At least in this area. I know San Fran and other places have probably had it longer. But, I mean, it's probably like, what was the other thing that was big? Groupons. Like, Groupon came out, all the restaurants jumped on, and then they're like, we're losing our ass.
Yeah. I'm not about Groupon. I've never done Groupon. I'll never do Groupon.
And now it's, Groupon's kind of leveled out where you don't really see as many restaurants. It's more like gym memberships. And
my father-in-law will only eat at places if he has a Groupon. So, that's the worst
and thing. Like some customers love it, like the JCPenney model. They love coupons.
There was a store called Mervin's out west that was huge.
We had some here for a while.
And when the recession hit, they closed because of that. Because they run so thin and they thrive off of promotions. Yeah. And so we don't really offer happy hours or discounts, and that's because it goes back to we are confident we're charging you a fair price. Yeah.
I mean, it is fair for how delicious it is. I mean, it's not... I mean, that's my honest assessment. I'm not just saying that just because, you agreed to the interview. I'm on Facebook raving about this place in groups. Like most marketing classes now, that's what they want to push you towards. It's creating raving fans that'll go out for you and sell your product for it.
Right.
In real estate, I'm trying to do the same thing with my clients. I'm trying to give them a level of service that causes them to be like, holy shit, I've never had an agent that works like this for me.
Right.
So
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Totally.
And this is part of it, because I put a little blurb in there that, hey, I'm a real estate agent as well. If you're thinking of buying a place in Tampa Bay, let me know.
Yeah.
But the thrust of the podcast is this is a great place to go. Check it out. You might not know about it.
I think we've been fortunate with how recognized our brand is becoming when you compare it to our real revenue. I don't know what you call that, brand leverage or whatever term, but there's still a ton of people that have no idea who we are or how many locations we have. A lot of people will say, "Oh yeah, I've been to your place, the brewery." I was like, "Well, no, we have other ones." Like, "You do?"
Yeah.
Or, "Yeah, you have 2, right?" Like, "No, we have 4."
I know y'all have a brewer. Are all of the beers brewed in house?
3-tier system. We are not allowed to sell beer to ourselves or self-distribute, and so we are retail locations, meaning we also cannot sell beer to a distributor.
Okay, and that's Florida's ridiculous beer laws.
Yeah, so we only brew the beer down in Comfort.
Okay.
And that's where it's all sold.
Okay. And they don't have... Do they have food down there? Or?
Comfort? Yeah.
Okay. Because I went there for the first time at the end of February. Great place. Had a delicious cocktail. It's like a mojito or something, but it was amazing.
Probably a Hemingway daiquiri with coconut rum.
I think so. I had the St. Pete Distillery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, that's... That place is good. And a little dangerous, but...
Yeah.
Well, we were pedal pub, so...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Comfort, what's their focus?
Southern comfort food.
Okay.
So fried chicken, chicken pot pie. We have a braised beef rib on there, a pulled pork and grits dish, shrimp and grits, fried green tomatoes. That menu is pretty expansive. There's a lot on that menu.
Okay. And creamery is?
Homemade ice cream and dessert waffles.
Delicious. I wanted to stop by that one. And
deli is where we cure all our own lunch meats.
Did that used to be...
Provisions?
Yeah, it used to be Provisions,
Yep.
Right?
So initially that was just a storage spot, and then we thought of this idea, okay, let's do sandwiches and craft beer. So we launched that, kind of saw what the customers wanted and what they didn't want. One mistake, one failure we had is buying a bunch of European labeled beer. And our craft beer industry here in town is not monogamous. People are more attracted to a brand that they don't know or a brand that they trust, but a style or a beer that they haven't had yet.
Yeah.
Like the Chimay's. Great beers, widely known. People aren't as interested to spend $19 on a Chimay, even though that's almost like close to cost, when they can buy a $2.50 IPA from a brewery 30 miles from here.
Yeah.
The IPA is going to win every single time.
Yeah. So you feel people are more about exploring new stuff, or?
I think people in our industry focus too much on the quality of the liquid versus the intentions of the buyer. So the intentions of the buyer is just try new stuff and experiment and have an experience. If they've already had a Chimay, they know it's going to be like the same way tomorrow, same way a week from now. So there's nothing new under the sun there, and I think they're less attracted to pursue that.
Yeah.
Also, it's price. $9 for a Chimay when you can, spend $2.50. It's like
It's true. It's true. I could get 4 or 3, 2 or 3, 4.
yeah. And I think that's how people kind of look at it too.
Makes sense. Any personal favorites?
For beer, I'm big into porters and stouts. So, like Left Hand Milk Stout has been one of my favorites forever. Kind of all those sweeter ones, I guess, that have a roasty backbone.
Yeah. So I'm not big on beer. I like craft beers, but I don't like the IPA stuff and all that stuff. But I went to Two Henry's and they had like a vanilla, which probably would mark
Vanilla porter?
It might have been an ale. I think it was a little on the lighter side because I don't usually go for the darker stuff.
Okay. So what I tell people is the color of your beer dictates the taste, just like the color of your shirt dictates the warmth. So you can have a really hoppy dark beer, or a really kind of light dark beer, or you can have a really sweet dark beer. That is just, yes, there's certain flavors that will come out with how kiln the grain is. Yeah. But you can make a dark lager that'll be way lighter than like certain light beers that are with ale yeast.
Do you have any of those you can recommend to me?
A dark lager? If we want to get hammered, you have to Doppelbock. Doppelbock has to have 6.3% alcohol or more.
Doppel?
Yep. And then there's also doubles, Dubbell, which is a Belgian style. Those are kind of on the sweeter side because the alcohol content's so high, but they'll still be darker in nature.
Interesting. And I will say, like here at Urban Brew and Barbecue, that the staff has always been really helpful on the beers. So I guess they either really love beer or there's some training on it.
Well, yeah, we're doing more and more training, pretty extensive training. There's programs out there that like Cicerone that you can do, but Cicerone kind of covers some things that I don't think are as useful. One of the questions on their test is where's 80 or 90% of the alcohol metabolized in your body? The bartender really doesn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a little. It seems more of like a law enforcement sort of.
Yeah, so I don't. Maybe they've improved it since last time I've seen it.
Yeah.
And we used to require everyone here to do a Cicerone test, and we kind of decided to pull that stuff inside. And we have 10 different classes that we teach about history of craft beer, different styles of craft beer, how to properly pour a craft beer. What I'm most proud about with our restaurants is the level of doing things from scratch that we've taken it. When I threw the idea about us making our own bread, a lot of people were like, okay, that's just crazy.
Most people don't know this, but most bread you usually get from a local bakery, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. It's probably more economical to do that. But it gives us a lot more control over the quality of our bread, and like we want to try something new, and then we just do it. Yeah. So the only thing we don't make is cheese and ketchup. Cheese, we just haven't decided to tackle that yet. I don't know if we ever will. It's quite a operation to take on. And then ketchup, everyone has ketchup at the age of 1 or 2, and so there's a deep-rooted reference to Heinz 57. And no matter what you do, you're never going to make something that's as good.
That's true. Have you eaten at a refinery?
Yes.
So they do actually make their own ketchup there.
Yes.
At least they used to. I guess they still do.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. We've toyed around with it, and ultimately, I think you get like, oh, it's good. We want it to be great.
Yeah, you want to blow people's minds.
Yeah, and so we're never going to do that with ketchup.
And personally, I believe that if you're still putting ketchup on things besides French fries after the age of, 8, you should probably expand your mind a little bit.
That's all right. So. To each their own. I'm not good at self-promotion at all. But I'm very proud of what we've been able to do, but I'm even more looking forward to the changes that we're making with empowering our employees and with this management group. We're really going to set the foundation in 2017 for some great growth in the years that follow.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Andy.
You're welcome.
Thanks to Andy for having that interview with us. Again, he is the owner of the Urban Comfort group of restaurants, which includes Urban Comforts, Urban Barbecue, Urban Creamery, and Urban Deli. And I would like to recommend this week that you give Urban Deli a try. They go there, they cure all their own meats and make their own breads, and it's amazing. And all of these restaurants are on Central Avenue, so if you're really bold, you could hit all of them up in one day. I mean, you're more than welcome to. I think most sane individuals would probably spread that out over a few days, but I don't know. That's up to you. Segment 3, let's get personal. So I release these a few weeks after they're recorded. I usually just kind of bust through, 3 or 4 of these in a day. It takes time to set up the equipment and all that and get the sound right. And I always try to go through and, record a few in sequence. So this is the birthday week for both myself and my wife. What we usually do is we combine a dinner together. This week we went to Melting Pot, which, yeah, I know, y'all are thinking it's like it's a chain restaurant. They've been around forever. What's new and exciting there? Well, I wanted to share with you that there is something great about the one here in St. Petersburg. I'm going to go a little more in depth into it in a future episode. But the cool thing about the Melting Pot here in St. Pete, which is on 4th Street, just south of 22nd Avenue, it's a little tough to see because I'm not sure if it's the landscape or whatever, but it's hard to spot the place. You'll see it when you drive by it. But the cool thing about the Melting Pot here in St. Petersburg is we get to try out a lot of the new stuff that they try out before it goes out to the other restaurants. So if you've ever eaten at Melting Pot, they bring out, the pots of broths and all that stuff that you can cook your meals in. Currently, at the one in St. Pete, they're trying out a new way of doing it, which is they bring out a cast iron skillet and then put that down and you're able to grill your food. Which, there's similar things around. But what we found was that if you cook the meat almost all the way in the broth and then transfer it over to the grill, and then sear it up on the grill, the taste becomes absolutely amazing. And of course, it is the traditional melting pot experience. It's not a get in and get out kind of meal. So anticipate spending a while there. But it's always cool just to pop in there and see what they're doing and what sort of new stuff they're trying. They also are doing award-winning cheese that they prepared. They won an award for the best cheese, and they bring out a fondue of this stuff. It is mind-blowingly delicious. And here's the bad part. It's only going on for about 8 weeks. So when you hear this, it's going to be about halfway through that. So you need to get there right now. Ask for their award-winning cheese fondue. It is, I don't say it too often, but stop what you're doing and make the reservation, get there and try this stuff, because it is stupid. If you like cheese in any form or fashion, it is delicious. So I wanted to share that with you and get that out to you, just so you know. So other than that, not too much going on. We booked our cabin for the solar eclipse, August 21st. So if you haven't done so, do make some plans for that. There is a new podcast called Every Little Thing, and their first main episode, they actually covered the impact that witnessing a solar eclipse firsthand has on people, and they all described it as rapturous. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine how weird and creepy it must be to, have the sun blotted out in the middle of the day for a few minutes, and how unnerving that might be. But they actually chronicle and follow around some people who that's what they do, like every 18 months, because that's how often solar eclipses happen on the face of the planet. A group of people that just go around and travel and just kind of follow them around. And as I'm sure you can imagine, they are a few characters, but it's an interesting podcast, and it might inspire you to pull in the trigger and book in a place to get out and see the eclipse. And I'd also like to remind you that our burrito contest is still going on. So go to our website or social media pages and find the contest link and click on that and share with us your favorite burrito place. And we will be choosing a winner. Winner will get a $25 gift certificate to the Red Mesa family of restaurants, which is delicious. So we would love to have your input. We will be announcing the winner on episode 6 or 7. So please subscribe so you will be notified that you won. Segment 4, Sobering Thoughts. So I was listening to another podcast. It's called 44,000 Hertz. And it's a podcast basically about sound and how sound impacts, your life, how you react to sound, how designers actually design sound to evoke certain emotions and stuff. It's a great podcast. It's really, really interesting. But they actually ran through a thought experiment with a astrophysicist or somebody that's interested in outer space. And they were saying that human beings, we rely mainly on sight, which is a result of light bouncing off of everything. And light is everywhere in the universe. Like it's everywhere. There's stars in the sky. There's light reflecting off of everything's. The sun puts out a ton of light. But by comparison, being able to hear my voice right now is very, very, very rare and special in the universe. And if you think about it, it makes sense. For sound to happen, you need air, a medium. You need something that can produce the sound, and then you need something that can receive the sound, which is your ears. So like on the moon, they don't have, there's no atmosphere on the moon, so there's no sound up there. So like if something explodes up there, there's no sound. If somebody were to speak, there's nothing to vibrate the vocal cords. And if you go to Venus, then the sound is going to be, in addition to, dying within 0.5 of a second, being crushed by the atmosphere. If you were on Mars, though, you couldn't hear anything. And that's because Mars's atmosphere is so thin. The winds there can blow 100 miles an hour, but because there's not atmosphere there, you don't feel the pressure from the wind. It's not applying a lot of force to you. If you're trying to have a conversation, again, while not dying, you won't be able to hear much at all. You might just hear the little tinkles of fine sand hitting your spacesuit as the 100-mile-an-hour wind throws it against your face mask. So sound, very, very, very rare. And it's amazing, honestly, to think about that we have developed both the instruments to communicate and the receptacles to hear it. Just the fact that it's not uncommon on this planet. I don't know. It got me a little philosophical is all. So I just want to share that with you. Outro. If you're thinking about moving, buying, or selling a home, let's talk. I'd love to help you find your own great place in Tampa Bay. Please give me a call at 727-300-2111, or you can send me an email at kyle@sassergroup.com. K as in khaki, Y as in Yahoo, L as in loco, E as in evil, at S as in saxophone, A as in X-Man, S as in swag, S as in spud, E as in evil, R as in risque, group.com. And you can join us on social media. Easiest way to find us on the web is to go to our website at greatthingstv.com. That's greatthingstv.com. And click on our Get Social link. We'd love for you to join our discussion group. You can get on there and talk about your favorite restaurants, throw some ideas around. What's your favorite racetrack in the area? Maybe it's go-karts, maybe it's dogs, maybe it's horses. And again, you can find that on our website under the Get Social link. And I'd also like to remind you that our Burrito contest to win a $25 gift certificate to the Red Mesa family of restaurants is available on our website and Facebook and Instagram. If you share the contest or a podcast with a friend, you will double your entries when you make your contest entry. So please be sure to take advantage of that. If you'd like show notes, transcripts, or additional information, you can find all of that at our website, greatthingstv.com. And we thrive off your comments, likes, shares, and follows. So please come and interact. Even if it's only to ask for the best apples in Apollo Beach can be found. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.